Good Sunday morning and welcome to Weekend Recharge. I'm LaRosa.
And I'm Alex Walls in for Paul Goodlow. Now, if you think that we're having an unusually stormy July, you're actually right. That's not usually this stormy at this time of the year, but the storm reports, they are piling up. More than 140 yesterday, and that stretched from California to Virginia.
Say head indoors when thunder roars for nothing. If you're close enough to hear thunder, you're close enough to get struck. And unfortunately, our Sunday snapshot includes lots of thunder and lightning, so you may have to have a plan B if it's to the pool, and that includes that severe risk. And look at this risk area all the way from Colorado on up into Maine, damaging winds on the south side. Millions of us, some 70 million, under some kind of heat advisory when that may break for some of us. And then, of course, all of the heavy rain, the monsoon in the desert Southwest and Southern California. We'll talk about the pictures, some of the amazing pictures and stats coming out of this region coming up in just a little bit. Alex, is there where you now have to issue those heat advisories, the heat and the humidity combination, setting that heat index to dangerous levels. They're out from Macon, Jackson, New Orleans, Memphis to St. Louis, including into the east. But the air temperature alone is enough to really be very, very dangerous. But look at these peak heat index temperatures we expect today. 108 in Memphis, 104 in Dallas, 105 in Oklahoma City. Think about your pets and your kids. I don't want to hear from parents that, oh, I would never leave my child in a car. It happens. You have to change your routine so that becomes part of it, because we know that even in the south and the southeast in July, we know it gets hot, but we have seen it over and over again. It's deadly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just confined to some of those areas in the south. We're dealing with some of this heat in the east as well.
All right, so we're going to talk about the conditions there now, because as you mentioned, it's a lot of threats, a lot to take in. After record rainfall yesterday, you're going to expect to see more of that rainfall. So what is that going to do for an area like San Bernardino, where we had the fire? Remember that taking place. You saw those incredible images, heard from those survivors there. Well, you still have the fire going. It's along Interstate 15. The winds, obviously, one of those things you have to look at when you're talking about fire conditions. And currently on the calm side, but as we know, this time of year, you get a little bit of the influence here offshore, and that could change. And then you have the canyons where you have some gust developing. And that's what we expect here as we get through the later part of the evening. And unfortunately, again, right, that is where the fire began. So we'll keep an eye on that. Another big part of the story is the relative humidity. We know that the dew points have increased, so our relative humidity is pretty high. So that's actually a good thing, but it is coming along with some tropical influence, and that can lead to the flash flooding. You see, there's all kinds of these threats that it's good and it's bad, but we have the post-tropical cyclone Dolores. You have the water vapor showing, yeah, that this time of year you have that flow, that monsoon flow, and you have a little bit of that added oomph to that deep layer moisture from the tropics. And so we still have that threat from Southern California, Las Vegas, Arizona, all the way into New Mexico here with that flash flood, with any of these showers and thunderstorms capable of putting down a lot of water. Now, keep in mind, we had record rainfall in LA with about 1/4 inch or so, and that was enough to not only set records, but also set off some street flooding. So you have to be cautious of that. So through today from Flagstaff, Phoenix, if you're doing any hiking, any camping, this is something that you need to be paying close attention to. If you're a visitor, take the time to find out what county you're in. So if there's an alert that goes out and you're not familiar with the area, at least you know the county that you're in. And then even through tomorrow, Flagstaff, and in through Central California too, maybe picking up a little bit of rainfall. Much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very dry time there. Well, still to come here on a weekend.
Was moving itself because of the wind. They couldn't even take the shots because the ball was moving. It's insane. Well, the golf industry as a whole generates $70 billion a year for the gusty wind threat. But all the ingredients are there. We have a lot of humidity, dew points into the upper 60s and 70s, one of those key ingredients that kind of can shut it down or not. We already have ongoing showers and thunderstorms. We were showing you through Missouri, but you can see by later on this afternoon, possibly another round here you have in and around Goodland. So along that I-70 corridor seems to be one of those hot spots for the showers and the thunderstorms later today. Primary impacts, definitely going to be the spotty damaging winds, some hail, the heavy rainfall. Isolated tornadoes, as always, not out of the question. Concern later here for the Northeast, especially, say, eastern upstate New York into New England for the damaging winds as the storms get going later on this afternoon. But also Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Allentown, Metro New York, you have to be on the lookout later today. By tomorrow, it's the Ohio Valley that's under the gun again. Cincinnati, Louisville, and Knoxville. Over to St. Louis, you find yourself in that red area once again. So busy Sunday into Monday, Alex. Storms still very much part of what we're covering here for you today as we get your recharge from the weekend. weekend, get you recharged for the week ahead. And today's top 3 stories that we're preparing you for, and a lot of it, a lot of storms. Basically, the eastern half of the country could be lighting up with showers and thunderstorms, but in particular, we're going to focus on some of that severe threat here from Colorado, clear on through Ohio and on up into Maine. The threats vary from the heavy rain and hail, damaging winds. That could be a big one into the northeast, but also that tornado threat. We'll talk about that and time out the storms and what that may mean for your get up and go tomorrow morning, too. Meanwhile, it is the heat that is still festering in through the central and southern U.S. It is making its way and has already, in a lot of cases here, into the northeast, mid-Atlantic. The heat index will be close to 100 degrees from New York all the way to Dallas, San Antonio, and Kansas City. There will be a break for some of us. We'll tell you about that cool down that we're already tracking. Already talking about the heat, though, of course. And then in the southwest, it is all about the rain. Were you on social media yesterday? All the incredible lightning pictures coming out of L.A. Record rainfall there. More possible on the way, including that flash flood threat, Alex. So we'll talk about that. But we've got a lot to cover when it comes to severe storms. So how hot is it going to be in the eastern U.S.? That's no joke. We got D.C. hotter than Miami. I think that says a lot. Philadelphia, New York City, Pittsburgh, Hartford, all those areas looking for their hottest day so far this year. You've got a live shot. Washington, D.C. looks beautiful there, the reflecting pool. And then Philadelphia, definitely steamy. If you're going to the Phillies game today, hopefully you're going to be on the cooler side of the ballpark because you have that excessive heat warning in effect. That heat and humidity combination will send that heat index to deadly levels if you don't take care of yourself. Know the symptoms. Let your kids know what they may be feeling like if they're going to be getting in trouble, because it is that hot. All the way down to South Carolina, those heat advisories in place. For Philadelphia, no days over 95 so far this year. Today's record high, 1977, is 99 degrees. Looking for a high into the mid-90s, same for Monday. So this heat for Philadelphia still at least another 2 days, and it is going to be stifling heat. Highs today into the mid-90s, as we mentioned, Philadelphia, 97 in D.C. Did anybody watch the U.S. men's national team yesterday in Baltimore? Peak heat index in Baltimore yesterday when they took to the field was 98 degrees. Unbelievable. We're going to be feeling like over 100 most of the day today in Philadelphia. Why we're so concerned that this is deadly, potentially deadly heat. Dangerous heat for D.C. as well, with your heat index well over 100 degrees for most of the day. Even on into tomorrow, the I-95 corridor close to or above 90 degrees.